Hey everyone, this is week 1, day 6. Um, Today's stuff is basically just going over, just getting an introduction into weather reports. Bring up the outline here. So basically just talking about METARs and TAFs, just surface observations. Now this, as far as what you kind of see on here today, this particular section has quite a bit of reading, so I tried to reduce it down as much as possible. In fact, I'm only actually going to have you read specifically about METARs and TAFs. Some of the other stuff you see here in the outline, the weather observers, the AWOS, ASOS, pilot reports, the significant en route weather reports and forecasts, area forecasts, and center weather advisories. We'll actually discuss that tomorrow on the in-class portion. Tomorrow we start getting in depth into a lot of the actual weather charts, and we're going to go over a lot of those. But today the objective is really for you guys to be able to read and learn all about METARs and TAFs. Today's reading does have quite a bit of information, and it's still even a fairly decent lengthy read, and a lot of the information in it is actually very pertinent and things that you need to know for for dispatch stuff. So it's going to definitely be stuff as a dispatcher you're going to want to know about. METARs and TAFs are the two primary weather products that we use on every single release that we send out as a dispatcher. So you really got to get to know these very extremely well. There's a lot of different information about them. Now you don't feel like you need to go through and necessarily memorize every last little thing. I'm kind of trying out a little bit of a new method on today's reading. I have gone through, like I said, I already tried to reduce this reading down as much as I possibly could, and like I said, I'm only having you just read about the METARs and the TAFs. In addition to that, though, I'm trying a new little method, and what I've gone through and done is I've highlighted each section heading, and I'll bring this up to give you an example. Okay, so you can see this is the beginning of the reading here. So as you can see, like at the top of each heading, there's so it's chapter 3 observations, and then so 3.1. So each section that I kind of feel is really important, it will be highlighted. And like I say, that just means that I just really want you to pay really close special attention to the stuff listed in that. And going forward, I'm going to try to use this method on all of the readings so that everyone has a really a better idea on what specific things in the reading you really need to pay attention to and try to remember. Now today's is going to be a little bit skewed because pretty much the majority of what you read today, you're going to find it's going to be highlighted. Now that would be probably unlike some of the other days. Like yesterday's stuff obviously was a lot of reading as well, but and what I'm going to also try to do, just so you guys know, I'm going to try to go back through the readings on some of the other ones and do this same thing where I highlight the stuff that you really need to know. But today's stuff, like I said, is going to be a little bit more on the, you're going to see a lot of stuff highlighted basically because a lot of it is stuff that you definitely need to try and learn and know. As far as things in here, obviously there's not going to be everything in here. It's not going to be like on a quiz or something like that. But in general and over time, everything in here that's highlighted is something that you're going to want to be very familiar with as a dispatcher. Now, as far as you're concerned, as far as this week goes, and then having a quiz tomorrow or on Saturday, depending on which one you go to. I'm not going to, go crazy, with questions on a quiz about METARs and TAFs by any means, but as far as a quiz question would go, what you would want to know is, what specifically is a METAR? How often are they issued? What would be the reason for issuing a speci METAR? What are the required elements that need to be in a METAR? Now, I'm not going to ask every single one of these questions, but these are just examples of a quiz question or two that you could potentially see. So, like I say, the quizzes aren't going to be crazy. They're going to be, between 10 and 20 questions total, and covering everything for the, all 6 days, basically. So, for that particular week. So, but just to give you an idea of what kind of questions, you might see. There's, this specific one goes through and talks about, how to read the visibility, how to read the time that's in the METARs, and then same thing on the TAF. Once you get done with going through all the METAR stuff, it's going to run you through all the stuff on TAFs, which are terminal area forecasts, just so you know what the definition of a TAF is. And a METAR definition is a meteorological terminal area report. So METARs are supposed to be issued every hour by an airport. And TAFs are supposed to be issued every 6 hours. And like I said, a TAF is a forecast, but a METAR is an actual representation of current conditions. So and you'll learn that in here in the reading, and this is going to go through and talk all about METARs, everything that's supposed to be in them, as well as the TAFs, and the important things to know, like I say, I've highlighted, and just kind of scrolling through here to kind of give you an idea of what it kind of looks like. But this is going to teach you how to read a METAR, what things have to be in it, and how to, tell, how to make sense of everything that's in it. So, try to really kind of spend time looking at this and understanding it. But as far as like quiz question type stuff, it's always going to kind of go back to the basics as far as, what needs to be in a METAR, how often are they issued, what specific elements are required in a METAR, and also just kind of what a METAR actually represents. And then same thing with the TAF. How often is a TAF issued? How often is what's required to be in a TAF? How can you denote when a TAF is telling you that the weather is going to change? Just things like that. Like I said, it's going to go through obviously a lot more than that, but as far as, like I say, overall, you need to become familiar over time. Now, obviously, learning about dispatch and things like that is a long process, and you're not necessarily going to be expected to know every last little thing about a METAR or a TAF right now, and nor are you going to be held accountable to be able to do that. It's just that you need to be able to know what it is, what you're looking for in each of these weather products, when they're reported, how they're reported, and what's the significance of them as far as dispatch goes. So, and just kind of as a general thing for all of the other stuff too, I have talked obviously to a few of you guys yesterday. If anybody has any suggestions, feedback, I really want to get everybody's feedback on how everything's going so far. I know that the first week is, probably really overwhelming, and in kind of a way it's designed to be like that a little bit, but as we go on and as we continue to go through every single day, and you do reading, and hopefully I can modify some of these processes based on your feedback and kind of what you guys want to see and what you guys think is going to help you the best to really kind of narrow down a lot of the pertinent things that you absolutely need to know. I know that there's just way too much information in a lot of this stuff to obviously be able to remember it all, and to have to write it all down and study it. There's just too much of it. Even as a dispatcher, that like in my own case, I've been dispatching for over 10 years, and a lot of these things is things that I would probably have to go back and look up. There's obviously the basics that I know. I mean, I do know a lot about METARs and TAFs. However, that knowledge has come over 10 years. And so that's what's expected over time. As you get licensed, as you become dispatchers, and as you start working in the field, your knowledge bank of these things will grow. And so the understanding of what you're looking for, and the importance of each and every weather product that we'll go over today and tomorrow, you'll eventually learn about them. You're going to learn the basics now, and that's the idea, is right now just learning the basics. The really advanced stuff is stuff that you actually learn after you're dispatched and when you're on the job. And as you have things come up, you start looking into things and learning things, and you take recurrent classes and things like that. So like I said, I just don't want anybody to feel overwhelmed. I know that in general the class itself, just simply due to the fact that it's an 8-week course, there is a lot of information, and it is all condensed and kind of crammed into a very short time frame. So there really does need to be 25 to 30 hours per week spent studying, reading, between at home and in class. That really is the expectation, that you'd have to do that, obviously, to get to 200 plus hours. But overall, and kind of the really important thing that I want to stress, in the end, is that the class schedule is 8 weeks. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be ready to go and finished right at the end of 8 weeks. That just marks the end of the teaching process, and the actual material. So everything that we need to go over will be presented in that 8 weeks. Now, we can spend more time at the end, going back and looking over things. And this is kind of where I want to get your feedback, individually. I know everybody's going to have different areas that they probably need, more help with, or they want to take a second look at. And for other people, it'll be weather. Some people, it'll be flight planning. Some people, it'll be aircraft systems, and that's fine. So that's where I kind of really want to get down into as we, continue to have, all these weeks of lessons, and every day a different topic and things like that. Also, I know everybody's on a little bit of a different time frame with their schedules, between work and family things going on at home. So I don't necessarily expect everybody to be like caught up, like right to the actual day of everything going on. I mean, I know that, like, if I put this information out today, I know that some of you aren't going to get to this particular section till maybe tomorrow or the next day. So kind of the key point is, though, is go at a pace that you are comfortable with, that you feel that you're actually capable of learning in. And so I don't want anybody to necessarily feel like they got to speed along, and that they start getting overwhelmed, and then they get behind in the reading and things like that. Just go at the pace that your schedule allows. That's kind of ultimately what I'm really trying to get at, is just go at that pace, and get yourself into a position to be able to learn and grasp these things to in an environment that you're not stressed out, that you're not feeling pressured or rushed. So it's fine to take longer than 8 weeks. Believe me, it's probably going to, for the majority, I would assume. So, it's fine if it's going to take 10 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever we need to do. The key point is that the actual material is just simply an 8-week schedule. That's all. But once we get done with the material, we are more than welcome to go back, go over things, continue to, to look at sections and things like that. So I just kind of want everybody to know that. I know that there's probably several of you that, are feeling kind of overwhelmed with everything, but I also want to let you know that, as we continue on and start going into other topics, it will start to feel a lot more comfortable and less overwhelming, and you'll kind of figure out that, that key, schedule for yourself, I guess. So anyway, please send me any questions that you have. Please send me any feedback that you have. This whole environment is also new for me as well. I've never taught the dispatch course in like 8 to 12 weeks like we're planning on doing. It's always been, I've had, been in the college environment teaching it over, the space of, several semesters in some cases. So for me, it's new, and obviously putting all this down into like a daily thing and, a weekly thing, and, figuring out what things are going to be best for in class, what things are going to be best for online, that's all new for me as well. So if you have any suggestions, anything that you think is going to help you learn better, I really do truly want to know these things, because I am more than open to changing things around to whatever's going to help you guys the best. This is your investment, and I want to make it the absolute best that I can for every one of you guys individually. So yeah, please let me know. Don't hesitate. And if if I'm doing something totally crazy and, doing this in a way that's just totally not working, like, I really do want to know that. And, I won't be offended in any way if, you can come up to me and say, Adam, you're an idiot. What are you thinking? You've got to do this totally different. Trust me, I want to hear it. So please let me know if there's anything like that that is going to help you do better, because end goal of all this is, to have everybody enjoy the course and obviously be able to get your license. So I want everybody to go at a pace that they're comfortable with, that they know that they can learn, in the most prime conditions. So yeah, anyway, with that, that's kind of my rant for today. But yesterday I didn't end up getting around, obviously, to putting an actual recording like this on for yesterday's material. But just going back, if you're watching this today, just for yesterday's stuff, the key is, just knowing, I know it was about fog and icing and then, thunderstorms and things like that. But the key point of all that is just, once again, knowing the basics, with regards to fog. You just want to know, understand the whole idea of fog, and what types of fog there are and what causes those specific types. Outside of that, I mean, you're going to learn more about fog as we go on, and you're going to pick up a lot more knowledge about fog. Right now, though, the idea is, what causes it, what is it, first of all, and what causes it, and what different types are there. That's really kind of the extent of what you'd want to know. Same thing with icing. What causes icing? What types of different icing are there? And, why is it, why is it something we need to pay attention to? That's it. Later on, when we get into the practical dispatching portions of stuff, we will relate all of the hazardous weather stuff, and we'll circle back and we're going to recover a lot of this stuff, and we're going to apply it to, practical dispatching later on. So you're going to see this again. The key is right now is just understanding some of the basic theories about weather. And I know you end up reading a lot more than you need to know, but you'd be surprised, something that you're reading that you don't feel like you're even understanding at all, 3 weeks down the road suddenly will make sense. So just kind of know that, and kind of bear with me a little bit with some of the material. you know, in order to make this class work the way it does, it kind of, you know, with everybody's schedules and things like that, you know, unfortunately there kind of has to be a certain amount of, you know, lengthy reading and things like that in order to actually get through it all. So we're going to go back here to just the day 5 stuff real quick. So yeah, actually, sorry. So the stuff for the fog was actually from Monday. So the Monday stuff, just that's the basics you need to know about the fog. For yesterday's stuff, which I have up here on the screen, air masses and classifications. This obviously just goes through and talks about where air masses come from, whether they're polar, whether they're tropic, whether, you know, it kind of just helps you understand where this air is coming from, and due to where it's coming from, it's going to have certain characteristics. So if it's coming from, you know, the equator and it's a tropical moist air mass, you know, it's going to cause different types of weather. If it's coming from the polar Arctic area and it's dry and cold, well, if it moves down, it's going to also cause different things. But that's outside of that. I mean, you don't need to know much more than that, other than just these types of different air masses exist, and when they converge on each other, they will create weather. I mean, that's kind of the whole basis of weather creation. You know, so it says there's source regions and air mass knowledge and forecasting. That's, you know, there's the videos that I put in here actually describe all of this very, very well. Fronts, you know, just understanding the differences between a cold front, a warm front, stationary front, a ridge, a trough, an occluded front. It will go through all of those, but like I say, you probably on those you just want to know the types of fronts and the characteristics of each type. And then the theory of storm systems. So it goes through thunderstorms, tornadoes, the hurricanes, typhoons. The reading on that was actually back on, I think, day 2. You read about the tropical air masses, and that actually had the hurricanes and typhoons in it there. So I didn't have you go back to reread that. But that particular section is just talking about, you know, just the theory behind them, what causes them. Now, like I said too, same thing down the road, thunderstorms, tornadoes. We're going to talk more about those later and relate them, especially thunderstorms. We're going to talk a lot about those, and then microbursts. That'll be covered again at length on probably several different occasions in the future. So just understand what they are, what, you know, how they're, right now is just more of like, what is it, how is it caused, and what are the characteristics, whether that be the thunderstorms, air fronts, air masses. That's all you're really trying to get out of any of this stuff so far today. Or sorry, this is for yesterday's stuff. And then these videos are actually really good for that. I'm going to bring up day 4 as well real quick. Just kind of wanted to recap the last couple of days. So, oops. So yeah, so back on Monday, so the fog, just the causes and the types. Same thing with the icing. Just, I know it goes into a lot more detail on the reading, but that's what you need to get out of it. And like I said, I'm going to go back to those readings and I'm going to highlight those ones, kind of more of what you really need to know. The stability, instability, that's just overall talking about, you know, once again, just the creation of weather, the creation of clouds, just the whole process behind warm air rising, cool air falling, and, you know, what that actually does, and how that applies in you know, in the change of weather and the creation of weather. And then the turbulence stuff. On the turbulence, same thing. Just want to know what is turbulence, what different types of turbulence is there, and just the characteristics of those. So when we're looking at like mountain waves, jet stream associated, clear air turbulence, just be able to write a sentence or two about each of those types of turbulence. And that's really kind of the objective there. Same thing. We're going to talk a ton about turbulence later on. We're going to come back. We're going to apply it later on in several different instances during our flight planning stuff. So like I said, just like a lot of the other information, we're going to see it over and over again. So the weather stuff is kind of like a ton of information right at the beginning, but really the idea in all of last week's stuff and this week's stuff is just to know and understand just the basics of all of these topics. You got to just know what it is. You don't need to know all the science and all the other stuff that it talks about. You're going to learn that over time. You're going to learn that, a lot more even during this class, and then as you become a dispatcher and actually apply it, daily as you're working. So you're going to learn about all this stuff. Right now is you just need the basics. You just need the foundation to be able to build on for later on. So yeah, so that was back to day 4. Just going to go back to today's stuff, and let's see, day 6. So yeah, today, just remember, just METARs and TAFs. The pilot reports, which are PIREPs, the area forecasts, and everything else on this outside of the METARs and TAFs, you're actually not going to read about. We're gonna talk about it and cover it tomorrow with the weather chart stuff. So yeah, just know what a METAR is, know what a TAF is, and know when they're issued, and how often they're supposed to be issued, and what is supposed to be in them. That's really what I want you to get out of it. And yeah, like I said, any questions, any problems, any issues, suggestions, feedback, please, please, please email me, text me, talk to me, whatever works the best. So with that, I will let everyone get going, and like I said, just go through it, go at a pace that's comfortable for you, and that is going to best help you learn the material going forward. And like I said, don't worry about schedules, don't worry about timelines. A lot of this will come together a lot quicker than you think it will. But in the beginning here, where this first week, just kind of want to make sure everyone gets comfortable with how we're doing this, and the whole process in general, so that you can get into a good mode going forward week by week. That's going to be the best for your own learning environment. So anyway, yeah, I'll let everybody get going. Have a good day, and we will see everybody hopefully tomorrow night, 5 o'clock in class. All right, take it easy.